You can eat perfectly healthy, follow every diet trend, and even take all the brain supplements everyone online swears by, but still feel like your mind is trapped in fog. You try to focus, but words slip through your memory like sand. Tasks that used to take minutes now take hours. And your mood, it swings without warning. What if I told you the problem isn't your willpower, your sleep, or even your coffee habit? The real culprit is something much more hidden, and it's silently stealing your clarity, energy, and happiness. Millions of adults over 45 are walking around every single day with this hidden deficiency, and most don't even realize it. It doesn't announce itself with dramatic symptoms. Instead, it creeps into your life subtly, affecting everything from how sharp you are at work, to how present you feel with loved ones, to the joy you used to feel doing hobbies, or even simple daily activities. Imagine loving a hobby, only to feel too foggy to enjoy it, or walking into a room and forgetting why you came there. That's what this deficiency does, quietly sabotaging your life. And here's the good news. You don't have to live like this. In just a few minutes, I'm going to reveal the exact deficiency most doctors never test for, why it's so easy to miss, and the simple, science-backed steps you can take to restore focus, mental clarity, and emotional balance, sometimes in just weeks. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what your brain has been silently screaming for, and how to give it the support it desperately needs to function at its best again. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Brad, and today we're diving into an issue that quietly affects millions of adults over 45. A problem that steals your focus, clouds your memory, and leaves your mood swinging without warning. It makes even simple daily tasks feel like climbing a steep hill, and it often goes completely unnoticed until the effects become undeniable. Maybe you've noticed it yourself. You walk into a room and forget why you came in. During conversations, your mind drifts, and you struggle to stay present. Your patience feels thinner than it used to be, and small frustrations suddenly feel overwhelming. Maybe you find yourself reaching for sugar, caffeine, or mindless scrolling just to feel normal again. Sound familiar? You're not imagining it. These are real signs that your brain is silently struggling. Here's the truth. Your brain doesn't age in isolation. Its performance depends on very specific nutrients, and when these nutrients are missing, no amount of sleep, exercise, or multivitamins will completely fix the problem. What worked in your 30s, like a quick cup of coffee, a good night's sleep, or even a healthy diet, may no longer be enough to keep your mind sharp in your 50s, 60s, or beyond. Today, we're going to uncover a hidden deficiency that most adults never even think about, yet it's one of the biggest reasons your focus, memory, and mood decline over time. I'll explain why this nutrient is absolutely critical, why so many people remain deficient despite doing everything right, and most importantly, I'll share practical, science-backed steps you can take immediately to restore your mental clarity, emotional balance, and energy. This isn't just about avoiding forgetfulness or irritability. It's about reclaiming the mental sharpness and emotional stability you may have lost without even realizing why. It's about feeling confident that your brain can keep up with life, your work, and the people you care about, without relying on constant caffeine, sugar, or endless supplements that don't work. Over the next few minutes, I'll break this down in a way that's easy to understand and easy to act on. We'll talk about the science, the real-life stories, and the exact steps you can take to correct this deficiency before it causes more serious problems. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what your brain has been asking for and how to give it what it needs to function at its best again. So if you've been feeling foggy, distracted, or emotionally off lately, stay tuned. What you're about to learn could completely change how you feel day to day, and it's simpler than you think. Let's start with the problem itself. Every day, countless adults experience something we often dismiss as brain fog. It's that creeping haze that makes words harder to find, attention drift in the middle of conversations, and even simple, enjoyable activities feel mentally exhausting. You might start a project, only to abandon it halfway because your mind can't keep up. Or maybe you open a book you've been eager to read, and within minutes your focus is gone. Brain fog is subtle, but its impact is profound. Take Margaret, for example, a 62-year-old retired teacher. Margaret has always been sharp, meticulous, and full of energy. But over the past year, she started noticing little changes. She would forget appointments she had scheduled just days before, lose track of conversations with friends, and feel an overwhelming sense of mental fatigue that no amount of sleep seemed to fix. Her friends chalked it up to just getting older, and her doctor assured her she was healthy. But Margaret knew something was off. She felt trapped in a fog that wouldn't lift, and the frustration of not understanding why only made it worse. Brain fog and mood swings aren't just inconvenient. They can spiral into something much more serious. Anxiety, depression, irritability, and even social withdrawal are all common consequences. Studies show that adults over 50 who struggle with persistent low mood and cognitive fatigue often have underlying nutrient deficiencies that standard blood tests fail to detect. These deficiencies silently sap energy and cloud thinking, yet because they aren't immediately obvious, they're almost always overlooked. You've probably heard the typical advice: get more sleep, exercise regularly, meditate, take a multivitamin. And yes, all of these are beneficial, but if your brain is starving for a critical nutrient, none of them will completely fix the problem. You might follow every guideline to the letter and still find yourself mentally exhausted, emotionally fragile, and increasingly frustrated. And slowly, you begin to think, maybe this is just who I am now. But here's the truth: you've been misled. General wellness habits alone aren't enough for optimal brain function. Your mind requires very specific building blocks to thrive. Here's a myth-busting fact. Many people believe that feeling foggy or moody as they age is inevitable. It isn't. What is inevitable, however, is deficiency. If you don't supply your body and brain with the nutrients it actually needs, nothing else will fully work. You can exercise, sleep well, even meditate every day. But without the essential building blocks, your neurons cannot fire efficiently, and your neurotransmitters cannot regulate mood and focus. This hidden deficiency is particularly sneaky because it doesn't always produce the classic severe deficiency symptoms we've been trained to recognize. You might not feel weak, dizzy, or physically ill. On the outside, you appear healthy, but internally, your brain is silently suffering. And the longer it goes uncorrected, the more profound the impact. Your memory slips, your focus fades, your emotional resilience diminishes, and tasks that used to feel effortless suddenly feel like climbing a mountain. Consider John, a 57-year-old corporate manager. John prided himself on being sharp and reliable, yet lately he found himself snapping at his team, forgetting minor details, and relying heavily on caffeine just to make it through the day. Frustrated, he underwent extensive testing and discovered something surprising. Despite eating a balanced diet, his body was severely low in a critical nutrient that directly supports neurotransmitter production, the chemical messengers in the brain responsible for focus, energy, and mood. Once John began addressing this deficiency, he noticed improvements in mental clarity, patience, and overall emotional stability within weeks. The takeaway is clear: the problem isn't laziness, stress, or aging alone. The real issue is that your brain is starving for something essential. Until you supply it with what it's missing, every strategy, whether it's diet, exercise, meditation, or supplements, will only yield limited results. This hidden deficiency is the silent barrier between you and the mental sharpness, emotional balance, and energy you deserve. Recognizing this is the first critical step toward reclaiming control over your mind and mood. So, what is this hidden deficiency that's silently sabotaging your focus, memory, and mood? The answer may surprise you. It's vitamin B12, often paired with folate. These aren't just optional vitamins that are nice to have. They are absolutely critical for brain function, mood regulation, and the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which are responsible for how alert, motivated, and emotionally balanced you feel every day. Why does it matter so much? Vitamin B12 and folate are central to producing myelin, the protective sheath around your nerves. Think of myelin like the insulation around electrical wires. Without it, signals between your brain and body are slow, misfiring, or lost entirely. This is why a deficiency can leave you mentally exhausted, forgetful, and emotionally fragile. Your brain isn't lazy. It's simply lacking the raw materials it needs to operate efficiently. What makes this deficiency so hidden is that its early signs are subtle. Maybe you notice a little forgetfulness, a slightly lower mood, or more irritability than usual. Nothing dramatic at first. And here's the kicker. Blood tests often report normal B12 levels because labs use a generic reference range that doesn't account for optimal brain function. You may feel fine, or at least think you do, but your neurons are quietly struggling to keep up. Research in neuropsychiatry confirms just how critical these nutrients are. Adults over 50 with suboptimal B12 and folate levels are significantly more likely to experience depression, anxiety, and cognitive decline. One study even showed that a modest increase in B12 improved mood scores by 20 to 30% over just 12 weeks. That's not a small change. That's a dramatic improvement in how someone feels day to day, often with no other interventions needed. Another factor that makes this deficiency so insidious is absorption. As we age, our stomach produces less acid, which is necessary to extract B12 from food. So even if you're eating plenty of meat, eggs, or dairy, your body may not absorb enough to maintain healthy brain function. And for those on plant-based diets, the risk skyrockets. Without supplementation, B12 deficiency is extremely common. But it's not just about what you eat. Poor gut health, chronic stress, and certain medications, like acid blockers or metformin, can deplete B12 faster than your diet can replenish it. That's why so many adults feel mentally foggy, emotionally low, or chronically tired, despite doing everything right. The problem isn't laziness, and it isn't just aging. It's your brain literally running low on the fuel it needs to operate at full capacity. Imagine your brain as a high-performance engine. You wouldn't expect a luxury car to run smoothly on half the required oil or with a clogged fuel filter. Your neurons are no different. They need B12 and folate to fire correctly, produce energy, and maintain communication across millions of neural connections. Without them, focus diminishes, mood drops, and fatigue sets in. Even if you're eating well, sleeping enough, and exercising regularly. So now that we know the hidden culprit, the real question becomes, what can we do about it? How do we restore optimal levels, repair those critical neural pathways, and bring back the focus, clarity, and emotional balance that have been missing for months, or even years? In the next section, we'll break down the exact solutions that science shows work. Practical steps you can take immediately to start feeling like yourself again. First, let's talk about vitamin B12. This isn't just another vitamin on a long list. It's the cornerstone of mental clarity, focus, and emotional stability. B12 is naturally found in animal products like meat, fish, eggs, and dairy. But here's the catch. Absorption is often the real challenge, especially as we age. Many adults simply cannot extract enough B12 from food alone. That's why sublingual B12 drops or a weekly high-dose injection can be far more effective. They bypass the digestive system entirely and deliver the vitamin straight into your bloodstream, where your brain can actually use it. Why does B12 work so powerfully? It directly supports the production of neurotransmitters, those chemical messengers that control mood, focus, and energy. It also boosts myelin repair, strengthening the protective sheath around your nerves so that signals flow quickly and efficiently between your brain and body. On top of that, B12 helps reduce homocysteine, a chemical linked to brain inflammation and cognitive decline. In other words, B12 doesn't just improve brain function, it protects it. Timing matters. For maximum absorption, take B12 in the morning on an empty stomach and avoid coffee at the same time, as it can slightly reduce absorption. A common mistake many adults make is assuming a standard multivitamin is enough. Most multivitamins are far too low dose to correct deficiencies in people with absorption issues, meaning your brain may still be running on empty even if your pill bottle says otherwise. Let me give you a real-life example. Sarah, a 54-year-old accountant, started noticing alarming changes. She forgot client names, struggled to focus during long meetings, and found herself snapping at her husband over trivial things. 6 weeks after starting sublingual B12 supplementation, Sarah noticed a remarkable difference. Mental clarity returned, energy improved, and her mood stabilized. Simple tasks no longer felt overwhelming, and she felt like herself again for the first time in years. Next is folate, particularly in its active form, methylfolate. Folate works hand in hand with B12, supporting neurotransmitter production and helping repair DNA in brain cells. Together, these nutrients provide the brain with the tools it needs to function at peak efficiency, supporting focus, memory, and emotional balance. Folate timing is less critical than B12, but taking it in the morning alongside your B12 supplement can maximize brain uptake. A common mistake is relying on folic acid from fortified foods, which some people cannot efficiently convert into its active form. This means that even if you're eating plenty of leafy greens or fortified cereals, you may still fall short of the optimal levels your brain requires. Another case study: James, a 60-year-old retired engineer, had been struggling with fatigue and mild depression. Lab tests revealed low B12 and suboptimal folate levels. After starting methylfolate and B12 supplementation, James noticed dramatic improvements within 8 weeks. His focus sharpened, his memory returned, and his mood lifted. He could finally enjoy reading again, manage his garden without mental exhaustion, and reconnect with his family without the constant cloud of fatigue. Supplements are powerful, but dietary sources still matter. Foods like shellfish, salmon, liver, spinach, and legumes provide natural B12 and folate. Pair these with healthy fats, like olive oil or avocado, which help absorption, and you're giving your brain the building blocks it's been missing. Another overlooked factor: stomach acid. Many adults take acid-reducing medications for heartburn or reflux, but low stomach acid can block B12 absorption entirely. If this applies to you, consider discussing alternatives with your doctor. It's one of those small, often overlooked changes that can create disproportionately big results in mental clarity and energy. When B12 and folate levels are optimized, you're not just preventing brain fog, you're actively restoring focus, memory, and emotional resilience. These aren't gradual improvements that may or may not happen. They're tangible, measurable changes you can feel in weeks. With the right nutrients, your brain finally has what it needs to perform at its best. And the best part? These changes are sustainable. Once you correct your levels, maintain them with smart supplementation, diet, and lifestyle habits, and you've essentially given your brain a lifelong advantage, a foundation for mental clarity, emotional stability, and energy that lasts well into your 60s, 70s, and beyond. Now, let's talk about the mistakes that most adults make. Mistakes that silently block recovery, even when you're doing everything right. These are the traps that keep brain fog, low mood, and fatigue firmly in place. If you're serious about reclaiming your focus and mental clarity, you need to know them. Mistake 1. Relying on generic multivitamins. This is the #1 error. Most multivitamins contain B12 in forms your body cannot efficiently use, and folate as folic acid, which some adults cannot convert into its active form. You might think you're covered, popping a daily pill and calling it a day, but your brain still lacks the nutrients it desperately needs. This is where countless adults get stuck, feeling frustrated as nothing seems to improve. Mistake 2. Poor timing. B12 is energizing. It's not just a passive supplement. Taking it with your morning coffee, or worse, late in the day, can reduce absorption and even disrupt your sleep cycle. Morning dosing, ideally on an empty stomach, is key. It's a small adjustment, but one that can dramatically influence results. Many adults take the right supplement at the wrong time and wonder why they still feel foggy or irritable. Mistake 3. Ignoring gut health. This is where the hidden barriers often lurk. Conditions like gastritis, low stomach acid, or chronic use of acid blockers drastically reduce your body's ability to absorb B12, even in high doses. Without addressing these issues, supplementation alone may not work. It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. You pour in the nutrients, but your brain still doesn't get what it needs. And there are other subtle pitfalls you need to be aware of. Excessive alcohol intake, diets high in processed foods, and chronic stress all deplete B12 and folate faster than most people realize. Even small daily habits can add up, silently undermining your efforts to regain focus and emotional balance. These errors explain why so many adults feel stuck in a frustrating cycle of brain fog, low mood, and fatigue. despite eating well, exercising, and taking multivitamins. Correcting the deficiency isn't just about supplementation, it's about removing the obstacles that block absorption and utilization. Only by addressing these hidden roadblocks can your brain finally receive the nutrients it needs to function at its peak. Imagine this. You're fueling a high-performance engine, but the fuel lines are clogged, and the oil isn't reaching the right components. No matter how good your fuel is, the engine sputters. That's exactly what happens when these mistakes go uncorrected. Once you identify and fix them, the improvements in focus, memory, and mood can be dramatic, sometimes within weeks. So, if you've been supplementing, eating well, and still feel mentally foggy or emotionally off, take a close look at these mistakes. They're often invisible, but they're powerful. Fixing them isn't complicated. It just requires awareness and a few strategic adjustments in timing, dosage, and gut health. In the next section, we'll wrap everything together with final advice, a bonus tip, and actionable steps you can start immediately to restore your brain's clarity, energy, and emotional balance. This is where all the pieces finally come together, and you'll see how simple changes can have life-changing results. Let's wrap up everything we've covered today. The key lessons are simple, yet incredibly powerful. If you've been struggling with focus, memory lapses, or mood swings, a hidden B12 and folate deficiency may be the culprit. It's subtle, common, and completely fixable. This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about recognizing that your brain has specific needs, and once you meet them, remarkable improvements are possible. The first step is to check your levels with your doctor, but keep in mind that standard blood tests often underestimate deficiency. Even if your results appear normal, your brain may still be starved of what it truly needs. Consider sublingual B12 and methylfolate supplements for optimal absorption, and pair them with nutrient-rich foods like salmon, shellfish, spinach, and legumes. Combine these with healthy fats, such as avocado, olive oil, or nuts, to maximize absorption, and watch how your mental clarity and emotional resilience improve week by week. Bonus tip: supporting gut health can dramatically amplify results. Gentle probiotics, fermented foods like kefir or sauerkraut, or digestive enzymes can improve B12 uptake and help your body utilize these nutrients more effectively. Think of it as clearing the path so the brain can finally receive the fuel it's been waiting for. Now, I want you to pause and reflect. Which of these steps have you been missing? Were you relying on a generic multivitamin that wasn't enough? Taking B12 at the wrong time? Or ignoring your gut health entirely? Share your experience in the comments. I genuinely want to hear your story. You never know who else might read it and find the solution they've been searching for. And here's a little teaser for our next video. What if I told you there's another hidden nutrient deficiency that silently accelerates brain aging faster than your years, undermining focus, memory, and even emotional stability? In the next episode, we'll uncover it, and the solution may surprise you. It's something most adults are unknowingly missing every single day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss this next crucial episode. Your brain deserves the absolute best. And now, after today, you know exactly what it's been crying out for. Remember this: focus, memory, and mood aren't just about lifestyle habits. They are about giving your brain the specific nutrients it actually needs to function at its peak. Start implementing these strategies today, and you can reclaim the mental clarity, energy, and emotional balance you may have thought was lost forever. The transformation is within your reach, and it starts now.